for listening.
I just don't care.
No one is ever kidding Michael Cole.
Of course he can roll a grudge forever. This is wrestling.
Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to This Is a Work, coming to you from Kayfabe Outpost 1 in South Carolina. I am Redbeard Robert Brafford, and with me as always is my tag team partner, Chris, still the fashion plate, now and forever, Barnes.
I've never agreed to this and I want to renegotiate.
It just gets longer every time you disagree. All right, so we are here to talk about SummerSlam, WWE's Big Four pay-per-view, which we're recording a little bit late. Just last week's been crazy on scheduling, and I think both of us have also been run pretty ragged this week, so it's a good thing this is a nice relaxing card, not going to bring up any strong feelings, you know, just have a chill, cool time to talk about wrestling. Before we get going on this, I'm just going to mention that the beverage, as always, I choose a liquor to go with the pay-per-view we're talking about. This time around, it is Añejo Teremana Tequila. So it's a tequila that's aged in whiskey barrels. The reason I selected this one is that this is the brand that is, I don't know what the term is, brewed, marketed, whatever, has the name of Dwayne Johnson on the back of it.
Endorsed.
Exactly, there we go. His big smile and, you know, amiably arched eyebrows stand behind every bottle of this stuff. And I just
stood
figured,
next to it as they gave him a big bag of money.
Oh, yeah, that's the best way to run a business. So, yeah, just wanted to put something together with all of the Samoan bloodline happenings on this card. And I figured, hey, there's a decent chance that if I put a picture of myself on Twitter and he, you know, actually did appear, I don't know, maybe I'd get a free bottle or something. A lot of things I expected didn't turn out to happen. But yeah, usually I'll drink neat, but I don't do that with tequila very much. So this is mixed with ginger beer and a dash of aromatic bitters. So if you hear ice cubes clinking somewhere near my microphone, it's not because I need alcohol to get through this episode. It's just that it helps.
Careful, that might loosen your tongue too much by the time we get to the end.
Oh, I have some bullet points in extra bold font. All right, so yeah, SummerSlam. So I'm just going to say, when I was kind of looking over this, I thought like the Wikipedia article wasn't all the way through because there were only 8 matches, and that's not tiny, but I guess I'm just so used to WrestleMania being this huge extravaganza that 8 listed matches felt a little slim. Then as I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute, there's not a single tag team match on this card. Men's tag titles, women's tag titles not being defended. Rhea Ripley wasn't wrestling, which is kind of weird given how red hot she's been for the last couple of months. Don't want to tie up the whole thing with the pay-per-view that we didn't watch, but that just struck me as a little bit weird.
But Rob, how can you be so skeptical of a show that gave you 4 main events?
4 main events. Okay, all right. I was going to try to hold on to this, but that just all the way through the show. The only thing that was more annoying than every play of Born to Be Wild, every time they kept dropping that.
They were so happy they got that song.
Oh my gosh. It's like they got
It's like there was nothing more recent from Detroit they could have played.
They bought the rights in bulk, so they they had to use all of them. Yeah, no, so this was a card with 8 announced matches. 4 of them were main events. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work.
That's how wrestling works.
I thought when they did like the co-main event thing at Backlash that I was like, okay, that's stretching it, but all right. In the 3 months since then, we're seeing exponential increases of numbers of main event cards. By the time we get to Survivor Series, it will literally be an entire card of main events.
Well, there's going to have to be 2 nights for every show because one night will be the undercard, and the next night will be all the main events.
I heard there was like a joke among like wrestlers that like there's a term and I forget what it is, but it's when you put a title on somebody instead of giving them a raise. I feel like that's a variant of what they're doing here. It's like, we're not going to give you a raise, but how would you like to be in a main event at SummerSlam? Like, not to jump ahead, but during the Cody Rhodes-Brock match, they mentioned Brock Lesnar has main evented more SummerSlams than anybody else in WWE. And I was like, oh, that's kind of impressive.
On purpose?
I'm not sure he remembers all of them, but then they mentioned that this one counted towards that total, and I was just like, oh, screw you, Michael Cole, for the first of many times.
That's like getting a promotion in title only.
Yeah.
Almost literally, actually, now that I think about it.
But yeah, so no,
they got paid in exposure.
Pretty much, yeah. We'll give you free copies of your own action figures or something.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things is where Dean Ambrose, then John Moxley, but in his book, he talks about when he was taking off the Shield, they like put him in a room full of merch and was like, you can take whatever you want. And he was just like, what would I do with any of this? He's like, I took some of like a replica belt that seemed cool, but I think I lost it when I was moving. I don't know. But yeah, so apparently the reporting is that the short card is that WWE in general is trying to make their, I will use this phrase for the only time tonight, their premium live events overall shorter. And that's why you kind of had fewer matches. Not all the titles were defended. One casualty.
How did that go? This event was 4 hours and 25 minutes, all said.
Well, I know, it's kind of crazy. It's like you had almost all the matches down and the show'd only been going for 3 hours. What? It's not like they could have an entire last hour of the show taken up by like one match and the entrances and the promo packet. That'd be ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, one of the apparent casualties on that was Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus had been, they've been building to that for months.
I did hear about that, yeah.
Yeah, apparently neither woman was very happy when they got the decision on fairly short notice that it wasn't going to be on their card. Having seen some clips of the match itself, I hate to say that I kind of get it, but it is still weird that, like, yeah, some really big names in WWE in an event like SummerSlam just either had, like, brief appearances or didn't show up at all. Like, no Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens. And, like, given that those guys, like, how over they were at night one of WrestleMania, it's kind of an ominous sign for the good that the Bloodline is supposed to be doing for the rest of the card, that they've immediately just kind of been back to, oh, yeah, those belts that occasionally we remember they exist.
This is why Roman needed to keep the title, Rob.
Oh man, I keep trying to jump ahead to that. All right, so
that's because most of the show is more or less fine. If not outright good, and then you get to the end.
I actually saw there was an interesting comment from Brian Alvarez on I think it was Wrestling Observer or radio or whatever, but he was talking about how during the Monday Night Wars, what you had with WCW was one of the most incredible rosters ever assembled, and like the mid-card matches were like the best you would see in American television.
That's almost a universal truth. The main events, awful.
Right. The main events were always Hogan or Flair, or like you'd have like the same guys over and over again. And so people would leave WCW pay-per-views, which had been mostly fantastic matches with this really sour taste in their mouths. While WWF didn't really have that strong of a bench, but their main event guys, you know, you had Mankind, you had Undertaker, you had The Rock, you had Austin, you had...
And if you go back just even a couple years further, it was HBK and Bret Hart and, you know, those guys propping up, you know, a lot of mid stuff sometimes.
Yeah, it's something they tell you in like a music class I remember from elementary school, is that people only remember the first and the last note that they hear. So if you get those right, you're most of the way to giving them a good concert. And that's...
It's like because your brain just automatically wants to fine tune it on its own. It's like how if you have the first and last letter of a word correct and the rest is jumbled up, your brain will fix it and you'll read the correct word.
Yeah. And honestly, this one did get off to a good start. There was a pre-show, but no matches on it, and the show proper kicks off with Ricochet versus Logan Paul. Logan, the begrudgingly respected Paul.
The respect. You know what? The respect for me is off. It just I don't because there's now he's just any other scumbag wrestler who can wrestle good, but I don't like.
Yeah, well, they keep talking about like how his ambition was to go viral. He's gonna go viral. It's like viral moments don't happen if you keep talking about how they're gonna happen.
No, they happen when you wander around in a forbidden forest in Japan. That's notable for infamous things.
Yeah, but. Honestly, I'm happy to see Ricochet back in like a singles match on a pay-per-view. I was looking over it. He showed up at an NXT Worlds Collide back in September of last year. Prior to that, his last singles match was at WrestleMania Backlash back in 2021. It's more than 2 years since this guy's had a singles match on a pay-per-view. He's been in a bunch of like battle royals and ladder matches, but so. And, you know, going all the way back to Lucha Underground, I love that guy. He's just such an insane athlete. He's, you watch footage of him in his 20s, and he is just like, you know, a man who got dirty photos of Gravity, so it lets him do whatever he wants, and even now, like we're seeing him now and he's slowed down, but it's kind of like Rey Mysterio, where it's just like, this guy's slower than he was 30 years ago, which is only, 20% faster than every other human being he's in the ring with. But yeah, no, it was a fun match. I mean,
it's like he's really only slower compared to himself.
Exactly. But yeah, I enjoyed this. It was a good warm up. A lot of spots to kind of work the crowd. Not really a lot of story to it, apart from just they had their big midair splash moment at Royal Rumble, and then Ricochet almost died when they did that Spanish Fly spot at Money in the Bank.
Did you hear Logan Paul threw out his idea to have him and Dominic team?
I did.
Which I thought was funny because it's really that only benefits Logan Paul because Dominic right now, there's a difference between what Logan Paul is and what Dominic is. Dominic is a heat magnet. Yeah. In the best way.
They love to hate him.
Exactly. And they get it. It's it's the perfect pro wrestling synergy where it's like, I'm going to say something terrible and the crowd's like, oh, I bet you are. That's what we came for. It's like, yeah, I bet you are. Say it. And he says it and they're like, boo. It's the perfect interactive play type of pro wrestling. Logan Paul is just a bad person and people are booing him like at Money in the Bank. And cheering when he gets hurt because they don't like him. Talented as he is, he's a scumbag. Yeah. So
people show up because they want to boo Dominic Mysterio. They hate that they have to cheer Logan Paul.
Yeah, in a way they would this team, the only thing this team would serve to do is essentially reputation launder Logan Paul, because then he can pretend that the boos are because I'm a bad guy being bad and not because I'm a terrible person with no introspection.
Yeah, it's very much an attempt. If you're self-aware of being bad, then nobody can really criticize you for it.
And then you don't have to actually improve yourself in any way.
Yeah. Well, again, solid match, a lot of high flying, a lot of jumping. I'm trying not to just go through and be like, oh, there was a cool spot where they did this and a cool spot where they did that.
I think that's fine because that's what wrestling is.
There was a buckshot lariat from the inside of the ring to hitting Ricochet on the floor outside that was pretty awesome. Apparently, one thing that was really cool, at one point Ricochet does a swinging hurricane neck breaker off the top rope on Paul, which was a tribute to Shane Helms, who produced the match.
Oh, nice.
So apparently people tagged him on social media and they were like, so you and Ricochet gonna have a match anytime soon? And he was like, my skeleton would come out of my body,
I'm pretty sure his answer was like, I'd die. Yeah. Oh, man. And then Logan Paul stole that kid's drink and poured it on Ricochet.
Yeah. I think his
$8 bottle of Prime.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, Prime got its money's worth that night. Apparently the reason they had this match up first was that Logan Paul's brother Jake was doing a boxing match in Dallas, and so Paul literally got out of the arena after this match, got on a plane, flew to Dallas, and you can see him on TV at Jake Paul's boxing match still in his ring gear.
Oh, I don't care.
He looked really gassed, I'm going to say, by the end of this. I don't know if he's just used to working with guys like definitely Roman, and Seth can keep a good pace, but he also can give you rest spots.
That would be great. I would love for him to overvalue himself and get in the ring with more people who can run circles around him and watch him die.
Just like, I'm sorry, could you not do this for 15 minutes straight? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 18 minutes overall. Ends with Logan Paul pinning Ricochet after he stumbles to the outside and a security man comes towards him. Only it's not a security man. It is, as commentary helpfully identifies, one of Logan Paul's goons who slips him brass knuckles. He turns as the referee and Ricochet are both walking towards him, and the referee has to kind of awkwardly whip his head away so he doesn't see Paul clock Ricochet with the brass knuckles.
I don't know who was out of position, but someone was. So he was like, my contact has slipped. My contact.
Oh, heavens.
My contacts. I can't see a thing without my contacts.
Yeah. But then, so I kind of expected after the brass knuckles there'd be like some big elaborate finisher, but nope, he just spins him 1, 2, 3. And they have a nice, on replay, you see Samantha Irvin, who is Ricochet's fiance, giving him quite an impressive stink eye, but still announcing him as the winner because, God bless her, she's a professional. Yeah. So
The winner of this match, this bitch.
it was a little weird because when Paul's guy snuck in, I was like, is Samantha going to come up and like give him a low blow from behind or something? But no,
She should just grab her mic and go, he's giving him brass knuckles.
just announce it. It'd be like,
That would be great.
the match will now restart.
Yo, he's got brass knuckles. He's got, look, I can see him right there. Don't touch, roll him over. Show him. That'd be ingenious.
For God's sake, Paul, what are you looking at?
It's like the ring announcer's the equivalent of the Watcher in the Marvel universe. It's like, I'm sworn not to interfere, except for now. You are fucking up.
Yeah. So yeah, I gave that match 3 1/4. Good opener.
Okay.
Popped the crowd. Not really much of a story there, but
I don't know if you ever really want to go too deep in stories for Logan Paul anyway,
Yeah.
because he's not full timing it. So
yeah, it's really just he wants to work with this guy or that guy.
he
and
just
that's
wants to
what
show up and
they'll
have
do.
cool matches every so often.
Yeah. And I think, who was it? I think it was Bischoff who said like, Paul, he's better than like 80% of the guys on the card. And I'm like,
Yeah, because he gets to rehab like a UFC fighter.
yeah. Also, yeah, and that's just part of it. It's like, look, when he's in the ring for 15 minutes every like 4 months, sure, he's good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's easy, but like compare that to somebody like Chad Gable or even just like some random guy on NXT who's like, yeah, I'm doing this, TV one night a week, house shows,
Yeah,
traveling.
Exactly. He's
just
making house shows and appearances, and he's
not getting a private jet booked or the
living
luxury
in
hotel
hotels.
suites.
Yeah, he's living in hotels like 70% of the time.
Yeah. I just feel like, again, I get that celebrities in wrestling is nothing new, but I gotta feel like that's pretty demoralizing to the people who've just been like working their butts off for 4 or 5 years, and then it's just like, hey, Logan Paul, second singles match. Why don't you take on Roman Reigns?
It's one of those times where I would personally be like, "You're not one of the boys.
Yeah.
You're not paying dues.
Spurn him.
Like you're talented. There's no shorting you on talent, but it's
Yeah.
like you're not putting in the road work like everyone else is."
Yeah. All right, so next matchup we have Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar for the rubber match out of their 3-match series. After Cody beat Brock at Backlash, Brock defeated Cody at Night of Champions. This is the one that finally settles it. And folks, Cody Rhodes literally beat the pants off of Brock Lesnar. Wasn't going to save that one to the end, just had to get that right out there now. But yeah, no,
Don't worry. There's nothing to go searching for on the internet.
I actually really liked this match. It's still weird to me that I've
There's nothing to hate about this match. It was it's something. Now it fell into the trap of telling the same story that WWE likes to tell via matches, as they do later in the night. Where it's like it's very heavily babyface in peril.
It is. The thing is, this is the kind of thing that Cody is very good at doing and he loves doing, and I'll never quite understand why it didn't work in AEW, except that he was so identified with management that it was never, you could never see him as the underdog no matter who he was against or how bad a beating he was taking.
Oh yeah, but I mean the classic storytelling of babyface in peril is heightened by the fact that both Brock and Cody are excellent in their roles.
Yeah, and also Cody's mom was ringside, so Brock was like literally beating her son from one side of the ring to the other in front of her. And
you notice Brock talked during the match, and it was still engaging.
Yeah, well, it's nice because he didn't stop wrestling to do it. He hit Cody hard enough to keep him down and then just told him, stay down.
Yeah.
And when that didn't work, he told Cole, tell him to stay down. And I actually wrote Brock's dialogue: save yourself, this is only going to get worse. Tell him, and then stay down.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, yeah, that works, and it's a nice way to pass the time because
Indeed.
in kind of a fun thing, Brock is not just going to do an F5 and pin him. He wants to beat Cody by countout. Like, he actually wants to beat him so badly he can't even get back into the ring. Right. And I was like, you know what?
He's made it his own personal last man standing match.
Yeah, that he's decided this is the way that you're going to lose. Mm-hmm. And so he probably gives up, moments of offense to just let Cody lie outside.
Yeah, and it makes sense because if you can't. It's like you can't go, well, he gave it a great shot if he gets beaten so hard he can't respond to a 10 count.
Yeah, and because his victory at Night of Champions was Cody passing out during a submission, which let Cody say, like, well, you didn't really beat me. So Yeah, I think he was going
Well,
for something
all
more.
right then.
You want me to really beat you? Okay.
You got to choose your words carefully. You don't know what he's going to take to heart.
What's funny is they keep mentioning in the build-up to this, Brock Lesnar has never explained why he attacked Cody Rhodes after WrestleMania.
And he never will.
Yeah, it's like Brock Lesnar, usually such a forthright man about why he is violent towards people.
So forthright, he had someone talk for him for as long as possible.
But yeah, no, it's a fun match. Again, just Cody takes a beating, gets knocked out of the ring. Eventually, he does the heroic rally, puts Brock in his own Kimura lock, and Brock gets out of it by basically picking Cody up off the ground bodily and doing like a mini spine buster to break the hold. Apparently Brock took an arm injury during this match, or a shoulder injury. I think rewatching it, it looks like when they're on the outside and Cody knocks him into the ring, the corner. It looks like he hits it a little awkwardly and is kind of favoring that shoulder for the rest of the match. But yeah, so Cody, again, who, all respect to him, has zero interest in protecting his own finisher, does 3 crossroads in a row to finally pin Brock. And I was like, okay, that's a good match. And then Brock gets up, and we're just like, oh, what's going to happen here? Goes face-to-face with him. They touch foreheads. Music plays. They gaze deep into each other's eyes. And Brock shakes his hand. But wait. He pulls him in for a hug. But wait! He lifts his arm and turns him to face the crowd in all 4 directions.
Like, boy, no one was more perplexed by what was happening than Cody Rhodes himself. You watch his face when he gets pulled into the hug.
He's like, is he about to just choke me? And again, I referenced it earlier. At some point during those crossroads, Brock Lesnar's shorts start disintegrating.
I think a seams just gave up and
something, yeah. But it's like down. It's not like there's just a hole on one side. It's like on both sides. They're just suddenly they look like Buddy Murphy's.
I think it had to do with how it has his positioning, where like they were straining in a particular way that as he was pushing on it, it just burst seams.
Yeah. But no, it's apparently a totally unplanned moment. He didn't talk about it with anybody, but it's honestly.
Held his arm, presented him to the crowd. Gave him his laurels.
For a guy who's been doing this as long as Brock and who has done plenty of matches where he was just like, give me my paycheck, F5, I'm out of here. To see how much he's respected working with Cody and it's clearly mutual, pretty amazing. And kind of my only question on all of this is, how would this story not have been even better if Cody was defending a world championship? Like, why wouldn't that be a great thing? Is his first run is just Brock trying to destroy him? You'd have to change the second match. Maybe, like, ends by mutual count out or something so Cody doesn't have to lose and win the belt back. But
I don't know. It also could have worked that way, too.
Yeah.
To be fair, with the way that they run some of Brock's programs. A title flip a couple of times.
Yeah. But, yeah, that... Again, there's more to talk about for there later, but... I still see what was planned to be Cody's first run as world champion, and I don't care what they report otherwise. That got changed very late in the game, and you can't convince me otherwise. But yeah, good match overall. I'm gonna say. Do you have any more on that one?
No, good match.
Yeah, I give it a 3 3/4. Honestly, just good story. Cody continues to show that he's just ready to be a top guy. Crowd loves him. He tells a story, works well with everybody.
It's almost like you could put a title on that guy and just run him to the moon.
Yes, indeed.
Almost.
All right, so next up we have the Slim Jim Battle Royal. I think it was initially announced as 20-man. It got bumped up to 25 at some point. Not going to list all the participants, but I like a Battle Royal. They are hard to screw up.
I'm going to be honest. My attention kind of waned at this point. But that's also because while I had this on, I was also playing PlayStation.
Totally fair. When I rewatched it, I had Skyrim on in the background. And it was And there were a lot of people who were clearly in there to be tossed out. Like ideal Battle Royal, everybody gets at least one spot. Mm-hmm. This one you had to cut through about 10 or 13 guys before you got to the ones who were really going to get to show off.
I'm kind of surprised knowing that they knew how long the main event was going to run or thereabouts, that they went ahead and did this.
Yeah, I mean, it went for just under 12 minutes, so it was pretty
wow.
breakneck pace for a battle royal.
That is faster than I thought. Yeah, I as I was had it on, I tried to keep it in my line of sight, but as I was playing, I was noticing, it's like, wow, these matches are going by faster than I thought they were.
Yeah, a lot of them did. There was apart from the main event, there was only one match I think that went over 20 minutes. I think everything else was 20 or below. Yeah, so it was brisk. I mean, the thing about WWE pay-per-views, you've got all the commercials and the packages. There's so much that just pads it out. And I don't think, because I think the Peacock subscription that you and I both have, there was no wink there. We have different accounts with different emails and passwords.
We would never devalue a subscription to a streaming service by sharing it.
Not with such a long and prestigious history.
Please sponsor us.
On Peacock, when you watch it live, you see all the promo packages and the build-ups. Apparently on the replay, they cut out a lot of that.
Yeah, because they blatantly say, hey, we're going to throw it to this package for our premium or free plus people, and it is just black screen for however long that promo package is.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did jump past those a little bit.
Fair
and
enough.
when they played the obvious commercials, but there's just blank spots in the replay.
Wow. That is a level
Oh man, that's how valuable they think your time is. They don't even edit that out.
I was going to say,
They
not
just
even
don't
snip
let you
it.
see it.
Just stare at this black screen and think about all the money you have not given us.
It's as I'm thinking about it, it gets more ridiculous. You don't even. It's like it doesn't even matter at this point. The event has aired. Just put the package in there. This is not. This is not going to entice me to spend more money to upgrade how would I? Well, I gotta know what those clips are of things that have already happened.
Don't you want to see something in this space for the next show?
I mean, ironically, well, maybe not ironically, but I do understand because the people who edit and do all the highlight stuff in WWE are like doing top tier work.
They really do. Like it's honestly, even matches that I don't really care about, they do a great job of just building and like getting you up for it.
It's literally like those promo packages are like, here, we saved you the trouble of not having to watch these as they aired and trimmed all the fat.
Yeah, you're getting the better version of that.
But I do not understand just the decision to not just snip,
Yeah,
just move on, because you can easily edit around that and be like, what promo package? Next.
We're only moving forward. Nothing to see here.
All you have to do is cut out a little bit of audio from Cole saying we're going to throw it to a package, and then delete the blank space. This gets more baffling the more I think about it.
I don't think it's ever gonna make sense. It's something we'll just have to make peace with.
No. Moving on.
Yeah. So I think actually I'm just looking at it now. Yeah. As with any battle royal, you need your big men, and in this one you had both Bronson Reed and you had Omos returning. Yes. I think for the first time since Backlash.
Weirdly enough, they mentioned and highlighted the fact that this was basically him and AJ meeting up again for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
And then kind of brushed it off.
Yeah, that AJ kind of lands the second to last hit to take him out of the ring, but
they sort of make a passing reference to it, and then Cole, as though like having a moment of clarity, is like, wait, these guys. He goes, these guys were tag team champions together.
It's like it's like a memories returning, and he's looking at Apollo Crews, and he's like, that guy used to be Nigerian, and before that he was from Georgia. He looks at Eric and Ivar. Those guys were the War Raiders, and then they were the Viking Experience, and then they were the.
No, I've gone cross-eyed.
But yeah, so obviously the big person in this was LA Knight, because he's been just exploding with the crowds for the last couple of months, really taken off.
It's funny looking into his journey making it to WWE, where basically he's had to do the same thing every time, which is he gets over organically.
Yeah.
And then and hopefully it finally works for him here too.
It's the one downside of this match was, went fast and was mostly fun, but there's not actually any reward to it. You win and you've won the Slim Jim Battle Royal. Like, you don't even get a trophy.
I'm not going to repeat that. I'm not going to tell people it's what I won.
Oh, I'd put it on my tombstone, but that's me.
I mean, well, look, it's no, oh God, it's no Cracker Barrel death match.
In fairness, what could be? But yeah, I think honestly for me, the real standout in this match, as he is in most things he appears in, Chad Gable was just like, that guy, like, he takes Giovanni Vinci of Imperium. Gable takes him out by locking him in a belly-to-belly suplex with Gable's back to the ropes and literally just flipping him over it.
Damn,
and
that is cool.
I don't think Vinci, he might have like put a hand on the rope to like guide himself a little bit, but he did not have to hoist himself at all. He just went over and like smoothly landed on the outside.
They've been slowly but surely turning Alpha Academy face, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
Okay.
Maxine Dupree joined them.
I saw the commercial they did with the Miz. That
Yeah.
was like, oh, they're face now. Definitely, this is how this is going.
Yeah, crowds caught that. They're it looks like they're feuding with Imperium going forward. I think Gable and Gunther have a match next week on Raw. But yeah, he does really well. Suplexes Ivar and almost suplexes Bronson Reed at one point. Gets him off the floor and holds him up for a second, but then can't rotate him all the way over. But yeah, so Omos, I think, tosses out 5 or 6 guys, but eventually they do the spot where sort of everybody hits him one after the other.
I think essentially it's the Andre spot, because that would always be his. And then later on it became the Big Show spot. Yeah.
And it ends with, like you said, AJ Styles hits him with a phenomenal forearm, and it's like their one moment of reconnecting. And, you know, while he's up in the air, AJ is actually at Omos's eye level for a second, and it's just like, oh, I do know him. But and then everybody just teams up to hoist him over the ropes. And in a great bit of tantrum, he grabs the apron and literally tears it off. It looks like he actually just rips off the apron is the surface, right? I don't want to say the skirt around the ring.
No, that's right.
Skirt?
No,
okay.
Yeah, that's a skirt.
Yeah, he almost rips it off on that side before storming off. But yeah, so you get down to your final 4 for this match. It's Bronson Reed, AJ Styles, Sheamus, and LA Knight. Knight eventually manages to power Bronson Reed over the ropes. They give him a little redemption spot because I don't know if you saw the clip going around from the SmackDown before where he tried to do a superplex on Sheamus on the top rope.
No,
and I think he was just out of position or something, but his boot went down and he kind of stumbled back offward.
Oh.
But at SummerSlam, he went and executed, and because, you know, these guys just do this thing, you know, multiple times a week, every week of the year. So it's going to go off sometimes. And every now and then that'll happen on television.
That reminds me, I heard something interesting. I guess Sabu gave an interview, I guess, after his recent AEW appearance.
I heard this
and
one.
And he mentioned that sometimes he would, because he was pretty famous for some of his slips as well as he was hitting his big moves. He said sometimes he would do that on purpose to spice up the match, and under the idea that it's like, well, yeah, it's like you're doing this intense wrestling, and sometimes you're going to slip up. And he is like, I want to believe that it was always like that intentionally, but I mean, some of those, well, I think he admits it. I think some of those were actual slips, but some of those were on purpose because, of course, in the midst of a match, sometimes that's going to happen. It's like, I agree with that personally. It's like, yeah, of course. That's why I've never really thought of like minor slips or something like that as like a botch.
Right. Like, for me, a botch is when it's like clearly, okay, there is no saving it, everybody step away. But like if, you know, a guy like tries to jump up on the turnbuckle, his foot slips for a second and he has to take a moment to adjust, or...
A botch is Hogan screwing up the flash paper throwing at Ultimate Warrior in WCW. That's a botch.
A botch is...
A slip off a turnbuckle, no, that's just part of a match. These guys, I've said it before, these guys are high impact fighting each other. In the midst of that and being worked up, mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah. But, they did not happen that night. It was like a belly-to-belly superplex, looked amazing, and eventually comes down to Sheamus and LA Knight, but after a little back and forth, LA Knight gets him over the ropes, and he is your Slim Jim Battle Royal winner.
Good. The best thing that can come of this is he finally is on the road to the DDP run.
Yeah.
You know, the older guy who's finally getting a proper chance to show himself off.
They just honestly, my first thought was, okay, like Austin Theory was in this match, and the fact that I just now mentioned the U.S. champion was involved tells you kind of the impact that his belt is having right now.
I genuinely forgot until you said something.
Yeah, I would have picked Knight to take that off of him and kind of try to have a face do for the U.S. title what Gunther has done for the Intercontinental title.
Oh, yeah.
Since then, Rey Mysterio beat Austin
I heard
Theory, so
about
he's
that.
the U.S. champion. And I don't feel like you want to have a face be the guy to beat Rey Mysterio for the first
No.
belt he's had in a while. But yeah, we'll see. I hope they find something for him because that dude has so much charisma. He's just a really smooth worker in the ring.
Absolutely.
And he did one immediate prize. He kind of joked at the press conference afterward. They after the match, they put him in a time machine and sent him back to film the Slim Jim commercial that aired immediately after.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, they weren't going to cut that part out for only the Peacock Plus members. But yeah, so Bianca Belair and LA Knight, and in kind of a cute touch, Randy Savage's his commercial is playing on like a TV in the background of the spot. So
Well, I think for spots like that, for commercials like that, those are done on the show. Like those aren't like inserted. I think if you've got like the ad-free thing, you just won't see the ones that Peacock randomly inserts. Those they put into the those they make part of the show. It's the difference between like when people make videos on YouTube when they do an mid video ad roll like ad read instead of like having like a commercial inserted.
yeah, just like every podcast that's suddenly like, and then they found her fourth finger buried 6 feet away. Casper Mattress has been giving a lot of people satisfying. Yeah.
Blue Chew.
All right, so yeah, I gave that match 3.5.
Cool.
It went like an 11-minute battle royal for 25 men, so lightning pace, but
Yeah.
right guy won. Good spots for a fair number of people in there. And yeah, so again, at this point, I'm having a pretty good time on this card. It's moving quickly. I'm kind of wondering how they're going to fill like a full evening's worth, but then we get to the first one that I think a lot of people kind of tripped over, as we have Ronda Rousey versus
Oh, boy.
Shayna Baszler in an MMA rules match. I guess they couldn't just call it a loser leaves all of you ungrateful jerks behind forever match because that would kind of spoil the ending. But
That's a you broke my heart match.
yeah. Yeah, reports have been going for a while that Ronda's ready to leave
Oh,
WWE
did she
behind.
lose her
and-
smile?
Yeah. And Shayna was the last person she really wanted to work with, and so they decided to do this. And this match has taken a bit of a beating on the internet. I kind of liked it. I did. It definitely a step down from what the evening's been so far, but these two, they clearly know each other. They have a good rhythm together. I think the concept doesn't really work because
Oh, you mean like how they were having an MMA match and then when officials stepped in to check on things, Ronda attacked them like you're not allowed to do in an MMA match?
yeah, or they check on Shayna by like crouching in front of her and just asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?
How you doing, bud?
You all right? Is your arm hurt? You okay?" You know, I mean, I don't have a medical
many
degree.
fingies?
But yeah, so it is kind of that awkward moment where it's like it doesn't have the kind of deliberate style of a pro wrestling match, but it also doesn't have like the frantic, like, you know, anything can happen and then sudden like flurry of activity feel of an MMA match. Mm-hmm. But for all that, again, these two work well together, and I'll say when they connected, they actually really looked like they were walloping the crap out of each other. Like Shayna gets Ronda with a roundhouse to the head that it looks kind of tossed off, but it looks tossed off in that way that actual knockout blows usually do in these things. Where you're just like that.
I mean, I've seen it at UFC fights. You never really can properly pinpoint the kick that's going to end the match.
Yeah.
I mean, you always think it's going to be something super decisive. And no, sometimes they just get kind of like waffled a little bit, and then they're down.
Yeah. And again, honestly, not a bad build of this match. I think the promo on the rewatch, I noticed they didn't show the replay package, which is kind of a shame because Shayna actually had a couple of pretty good promos building up to this. I think my favorite line of hers was she was talking about being after Ronda and her husband, Shayna was the first person to see their daughter, and just their moment of, that kid is never going to forgive me for what I'm about to do to her mother. And I'm just like, I've missed this Shayna Baszler.
Don't worry, I'll buy her a PlayStation.
I love that she never hesitates to cut a promo on other people's kids. Like when Becky announced that she was pregnant, Shayna was backstage. Have you seen the dad? Yeah, that kid's gonna suck. But yeah, so technically they're both supposed to be heels going into this because Shayna is the one who
Shayna's a face
stabs Ron
forever.
in the back.
Nope.
But yeah, the crowd gets a vote on that.
I know what my vote is.
I think what I like best about this is that because Ronda and Shayna have a certain comfort level, I'm assuming they've trained and they've sparred enough. They don't have the issue that you have in most of Ronda's other matches where she's clearly just trying to do MMA style stuff but holding back on it. So she does these really like ineffective looking rabbit punches or these all her moves either look
Do not maim your coworkers.
Yeah. Not everyone is as crazy double jointed as Alexa Bliss. Like, please watch those tosses. But yeah, overall, not a lot to say. It wasn't a long match. 7.5 minutes, and I think at least 90 seconds of that was Shayna selling a shoulder injury
By the seashore.
Yes, indeed. And eventually, she gets Ronda in a Kirifuda clutch, and Ronda passes out.
Hooray!
Passes out of time and memory. Yeah, man, what a journey for Ronda Rousey from that WrestleMania appearance and that first run as women's champion, and then just I don't know. Do you think it went wrong when she didn't know how to play a heel against Becky Lynch and Charlotte in that run up to WrestleMania, or do you think if they brought her back differently, if they hadn't had her just walk in and win the Royal Rumble, maybe there was still a chance to get the crowd back for her?
What she seriously needed was a social media manager who posted things for her.
Yeah, that would also be it. If it's the downside of celebrities in WWE, if they don't know how to control it on their own, or at least weaponize the heat the way Paul does, then all you can do is hurt yourself.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let that hang there because.
But yeah, so I gave it 2 3/4. Again, I liked it more than most people. It was a good display. It was not a bad note for Ronda to leave on, all things considered. I hope Shayna gets more to do now, but we'll see. Because at this point, well, not to jump ahead, but with both women's championships being held by heels, I'm not sure how Shayna can fit into that picture, but we will see. All right, so let's see. We are back and I have just made myself another tequila and ginger beer. So you're hearing the refreshing stir of ice cubes and the sweet, sweet liquor that is going to get me through the end of this thing. But another thing that helps is the match coming up next, which was one I was ready for as a potential match of the night because it's time for Gunther to defend his Intercontinental Championship against Drew McIntyre.
Which main event are we on?
This one was not one. It's a
what?
weird.
That's weird.
I think we've only had one main event so far.
Wait, what?
I think we've got 3 still to go after this match.
Oh my god.
Yeah, nobody asks me to decide these things.
It's like Christmas creeping into the other months.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh.
Honestly, this match should have been a main event.
It should have, honestly. If it was just ranked by like the quality that we know the participants are going to deliver, yeah, this would be this is the one you put on the poster. The thing about it is I don't really know what to say about just it's the kind of match that Gunther does, and that sounds dismissive, and I don't mean it to be, because Gunther, the more I watch him, there's something so amazingly old-fashioned about him, just the way he looks, the way he performs. You would not be surprised to see this guy against Strangler Lewis or Lou Thez or in some other old Madison Square Garden match.
It would be like you could fake old footage so easily by having him in a ring just to put the right filter over it. And it's just like, this is a match from the 40s. And I believe you.
Yeah. But the thing is, he's a gifted technician. He's got presence. What he is doing is what they want to pretend that Roman Reigns is doing, and it just drives me increasingly crazy. Again, not to jump ahead, but yeah, McIntyre.
We should slowly talk about that now because that match was long, and I don't want to go minute by minute.
Oh no, I was taking painstaking notes. Every breather of Romans, that's where the cinema happens.
See, that's your problem. I glanced over a few times while I was in the middle of gameplay. I couldn't really look away because there were too many enemies on the screen, but every so often I'd hear something and kind of glance over. I moved the laptop so that it was closer to my direct line of sight, because at first I had it too far to the right, so I'd have to do this and look away. I was like, that wasn't working.
But yeah, so Gunther, as always, gets his full entrance. Even though they were in the Battle Royal earlier, Kaiser and Vinci.
Well, you better get yourself bandaged up and get that limp out of your system.
I should imagine him Vinci backstage is holding his dislocated shoulder, and Gunther's hand starts to come up for the chop, and Vinci just wordlessly pops it back in and puts his jacket on. Yeah, but they do the entrance. Drew gets to come in with the kilt and the broadsword.
Nice.
And then it is just a hoss fight all the way through. Just these guys chopping each other back and forth, slams, dives, more air than you'd expect from guys that size.
Yeah, it's the perfect alternative to sometimes some matches are interesting and fun. Excuse me. Some matches are interesting and fun because there's been a build. And it's been an emotional build into an emotional match. And then there's this match, which is the other great cornerstone of wrestling, which is these two guys are tough sumbitches who are going to beat the shit out of each other.
I don't need a story. I just want to see them go at it.
That is the story you need to see. We join you already in progress.
Pretty much. And yeah, again, I think Vinci and Kaiser just go to the back immediately because while Gunther, he has a few moments where he looks a little concerned, but he fights on his own here. And
they did make that part of the finish. There was a little bit of was kind of an moment for Gunther.
Yeah, because
I'm sorry, Gunther.
It took me a while to get used to that too. This is the one downside of not watching TV regularly enough is some of the pronunciations. I'm glad to finally know.
Cole really stresses the goon in Gunther.
Yeah. I'm surprised he hasn't used that. This guy puts the goon in Gunther, Graves. That's what I think of him. But I feel like there's only so far he can go before Graves just stabs him in the neck with a pin without realizing what he's done.
Graves, I mean, both Cole and Graves are both good at occasionally going, okay, stop.
That's just too far.
We're not doing that. Stop it.
But yeah, again, there's not much to say about this match, which isn't to say it was bad. It's just that I can describe they're chopping each other, they're slamming each other, they're throwing each other around that ring, and it's awesome.
It is. It really is.
This is of the the big man style that Vince McMahon is always gonna want to center his brand around. These are just two of the best guys doing it today.
But this is better than because these guys aren't huge,
right?
These are not. I mean, they're big guys. They're big, tough guys, and there is a finesse to it.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, one of Gunther's finishes is a top rope splash, which Gina. I was watching it with my wife Gina, and she was. She's come from the generation where she's pretty much only seen frog splashes because that's what everybody has done in the days since Eddie Guerrero. So she was just like, "Wait, he just jumps and falls?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's just a splash." She's like, he just throws his arms out and jumps.
Yeah, as a finisher, it's effective, especially for Gunther, because he has worn them down so hard that just one big splash at the end will do it.
Your chest is ready to implode when he hits it.
It is interesting to see a guy like Gunther do it because that used to be the staple of the big boys, like the really big guys, especially the fat boys.
Yeah, like Vader or somebody would.
Vader
could do his moonsault, though.
Vader could do that. Bam Bam could do it. Bam Bam had a variation because he would also moonsault. Guys like Earthquake, King Kong Bundy.
Yeah.
Bundy specifically ended with a splash. Yokozuna did his bonsai, which is his sit-down splash, because it's about the only way he could do a move to somebody without killing them with his weight. Because he would usually do it in the corner so he could hold the ropes.
Yeah, because just if I need to get off you before you suffocate, there's an option.
Because he's 500 to 600 pounds.
Yeah. But so in the end, Gunther, it ends with a kind of a fun bit where Drew gets him up on the turnbuckles, trying to, I'm not sure what he's going for. Might have been going for a future shock DDT off the top ropes. But at any rate, Gunther shoves him off, and Drew lands on the ropes in a very painful style and goes down. Gunther splashes him, hits him with another power bomb, and gets the 3 count.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, the end kind of highlighted. There's a chance that there's a small bit of Gunther got a little desperate
Yeah.
because it didn't go exactly to plan as it had previously.
Yeah, that he just found an opening and just sort of happened to get lucky with how McIntyre landed. But yeah, great match. I gave it 4.
Yeah.
Was ready for it to be match of the night, but there was actually one ahead of it, and I'm not being sarcastic here, that I think went even further. It's only 13 minutes and 40 seconds, which surprised me because I was like, that really felt like, it just felt like such a battle. Like, it didn't feel like it was sluggish, but I was surprised that, oh wow, it just felt like these guys have been beating the crap out of each other for so much longer. So one thing that was interesting about this is Drew's first match back since WrestleMania, and there have been some reports that he was waiting for his or that he's ready for his contract to expire and to look elsewhere outside of WWE. Now it seems like they've come to an agreement because he is back and he is on pay-per-view again.
Yeah.
I don't know, Drew Galloway in AEW. You think any chance we'll see that in the next year or two?
I would never rule it out, just because now that there is an option.
Yeah.
And it will spur WWE because they now have to weigh the idea of, if we let this person go and don't utilize them right, and they go to AEW and they explode, well, that makes us look like WCW.
Which has always been again, you can love AEW, you can hate AEW, you can prefer one company to the other. It is really great that wrestlers have that leverage now.
Yes.
That
100%.
A guy can tell, somebody who's renegotiating his contract, I will go somewhere else and I'll keep doing this. And it doesn't just feel like a bluff. It feels like, this guy actually could explode because there's another company that has weekly TV shows and is selling out stadiums. And so it's really awesome. Like, I hope Drew either got a great creative deal or more money, and that, the existence of AEW is a big part of why that can happen. And AEW's never existed without that being a possibility. They've always had to keep their talent either well paid, happy, or both. And
by all respects, I mean, Tony Khan has worked hard to keep the people that he's brought on board, unless they personally saw a better opportunity elsewhere. Yeah,
there have been a couple of cases where people have asked for release, and I think only 1 or 2 releases that were related to backstage conduct.
Right.
But it's never just been like, all right, you've been future endeavored, goodbye.
Yeah. There's never been really a calling at AEW.
Yeah. Let's see. So again, 4 out of that one, great match. Business is picking back up, and it continues. We are now on our second of 4 main events.
Oh my goodness!
With
I don't know if I'm ready.
Freaking Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Consolation Championship against Finn Balor of the Judgment Day.
Oh my goodness! I loved everything. I enjoyed this match. I loved the ending.
Okay. So at Money in the Bank, I was surprised to be disappointed by Rollins and Balor's match. It wasn't bad, but I'm just like, these guys are both so good.
Yeah.
And that match just never felt like they got into their high gear. This one, they got there.
Maybe it felt like that because they knew they were going to run it back to here.
It makes more sense looking back on that, the idea of, okay, they wanted to give themselves somewhere to go. And what I love about this one is that obviously Balor wants to win a championship.
Yeah.
But he also just really wants to hurt Seth. And
because he ruined his first chance at a title run.
Yeah, 7 years ago. And we know we know how long it's been because Finn literally has that inked on his shoulder, just the number 7. I thought he really should have it backwards, so Memento style, like he sees it every time he looks in the mirror. But
don't believe his lies.
Remember Sandwich? Oh, I just got big booted in the face.
Don't believe his lies. A little picture of Vince McMahon.
But yeah, so just the idea that, again, it was at SummerSlam 7 years ago, Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the inaugural Universal Championship. Balor won, but suffered a torn shoulder during the match, had to relinquish the title, and so he comes into this match planning to do the exact same thing to Seth. And he works Seth's arm all the way through the match. No, we got something crawling up.
Squirrels are furious.
Oh, they know what's coming. But yeah, he is working Seth's shoulder with stretches and strikes all through the match. And at one point, he actually takes him to the outside of the ring and does a running power bomb into the barricades, which is the move Seth did that apparently caused the injury for him all those years ago. And you might feel sorry for Seth, except he did kind of goad Finn a little bit by wearing the same gear to the ring that he wore in their match 7 years ago.
Also, apparently he's built different because it didn't hurt him.
Oh, man. And this was a fun match. This was both guys just doing, like, going at it. Because Seth, he comes out, he's got a long coat with it. Like,
that's just the kind of, like, little, like, gremlin mindset that I love, though. Because it's like, you know what? All right, fine. This is very personal and terrible to you. I'm going to remind you of the worst part of all of this.
Well, that's always been it. Like,
I'm going to make sure you see the same thing coming to the ring as you saw last time.
Basically, that's been what Seth's doing. Because like at was it Hell in a Cell, he wore the polka dot Dusty outfit to challenge Cody, and he did the Shield entrance when he was facing Roman.
He did. I love that. I love that idea. It was like it's like you can't intimidate me.
Yeah, just I'm
win or lose. It's like you don't win. You don't win the mind game.
Yeah, trolling his way all the way down to the ring. But he was on defense for most of the match because the problem with goading someone is occasionally they
get mad.
Yeah. And you're in a place where he can legally do quite a bit of violence.
Oh
to
no,
you.
the consequences of my actions.
I really enjoyed the fucking around, but this next part, I don't know. But
it's like that's that tweet too. I love it. Just like, haha, I love sewing. Sewing is great. It's so much fun. Me reaping. Oh, this fucking sucks.
But so again, great match. They're throwing each other around. Eventually, we see the other members of the Judgment Day show up. The first one being Mr. Money in the Bank himself, Damian Priest.
This was great because they kind of had to acknowledge it a little bit, but I guess Dom and Rhea were slightly late getting through the crowd.
Yeah,
because there's like, what's he waiting for? What's he?
So he does sort of two interference spots. One is he like gives Seth kind of a forearm through the ring or through the ropes, but Seth still kicks out on the next pin. Then you have Dom and Rhea show up and distract the ref, and Priest tries to hand Finn the Money in the Bank case to use as a weapon. And Finn's like, no, we stick with Plan A. We're doing Plan A. Which lasts for a little while until he realizes, oh crap, I still can't beat that. Plan B. So Priest just leaves the case in the corner.
Well,
sorry.
Never mind. I'm sorry. No, I'm trying to remember the sequence right because.
Well, Seth takes out the other members of the Judgment Day, like he does a diving clothesline.
Right.
At the Priest and
But Rhea distracts the ref so that he can slide the briefcase in. But that's after they try something else, isn't it?
Let's see. I'm trying to. So.
Oh, that's right. No, he tried to sneak a chair in, and the ref caught it.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Because Rhea and the ref are arguing over the chair, and then that's what prompts Priest to slide the case in.
And then he walks around to distract the ref.
Yeah.
Finn crawls over to grab the case and just immediately gets his face curb stomped onto it, which has become another recurring thing that Seth does because he did that to Omos during their match at Backlash.
Nice.
MVP tried to slide his cane into the ring for Omos to use, and Seth just stomped his face into it. But curb stomp, face into case, and then
didn't he slide it through Finn's legs at one point? Or am I thinking of something different? I swear that was from the same show, but
I feel like that happened at one of the.
Okay.
Shows. Yeah,
I remember seeing that part on Twitter, and I think my brain meshed them together.
That was, I think, Priest had an attempted cash in on Raw, and Finn kind of attacked Seth before he could officially cash in. And Seth was able to get out of the ring before because two guys have to be in the ring to start the cash-in match.
Well, no, it was specifically he slid the case to Finn to use it, and it went through his legs, and Seth got it.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think that was on this one.
Okay, all right. I don't know why, but I saw that on Twitter and meshed it into my head. It was such a good spot.
Yeah.
I just loved it. But no, the curb stomp was good too. It was just
the story they've been doing with this is a lot of fun of Priest being ready to cash in, but trying to restrain himself for the sake of his teammate, even though.
And then, of course, his not reassurance, like, well, one way or the other, we're getting that title. It's like, Yeah, but I won it.
And then he's already had a very meme-worthy face because after Seth does the curb stomp and then pins Finn, just cut to Priest staring with this very like flat-eyed like.
I'm not going to hear the end of this one.
Oh dang it! Just very unhappy about
very
the way
long-
all of this has gone.
It's like, this is going to be a long car ride.
Yeah. But yeah, so Seth Rollins retains. Again, great match, fun ending spot. Still wish Rhea had actually had a match on the show, but like you could have done this with just Priest and Dominic. But you know, I'll still give it 4 1/4 because Seth continues to bring all the legitimacy that he can to this title, even though its existence is just sort of a punchline of.
Plus, it's nice
other
to
booking.
see. It's nice to see ostensibly a face champion being able to outsmart the numbers game.
Yeah, that he gets to be devious in a way that isn't necessarily underhanded.
Nefarious.
Yeah, that he's learned a few things on his road to both sides of the face heel door. All right, so next up is our third of 4 main events. The WWE Women's Championship.
Ah, yes.
With defending champion Asuka in a triple threat match against Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. Asuka is so good. She's so talented, and she is so dedicated to this company.
That they can immediately take it for granted and do stuff like this with her?
I looked it up because I was like, this can't be right, can it? She won the title at Night of Champions against Belair in May. Since then, she defended it twice, once against Belair and once against Flair on television. Both of those matches ended in DQs. She did not have a single clean, successful title defense for this run of her championship. And she deserves so much better than that.
That's true.
I'm not unhappy about the way this went, but I wish they'd given her the title like a pay-per-view cycle or 2 earlier, let her have some good defenses, and then finally have this be where it all culminates.
Sure.
All that said, these are 3 really talented women. Great great triple threat energy. Started kind of slow, but I like the way they built to it, and they kept kind of changing up the dynamics, especially once Bianca started selling a knee injury, and I was like, it was 20 minutes, second longest match on the card.
Oh, yeah. I thought, I kind of bought into they're writing her out of the match when they did the spot.
Yeah. Well, it's partly because she sold that thing so well. Like I still think the champion of like agonized screaming in wrestling is MJF. Just anytime he sells like a bad leg landing or something.
No, and I mean this in the best way. When he's selling, he's also panicking because he's selling the idea that not only is he hurt, but it's gonna make him lose.
Yeah.
So he panics and screams like a scared little bitch. And it's great because it's so visceral. It's visceral in the sense of like, if you've ever watched South Park, when Cartman is genuinely upset, it's that same kind of energy. And it's like you're into it because it's like, yeah, you deserve it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's gonna wiggle out of it.
But yeah, no, like so Bianca at one point, Charlotte like dumps her over the ropes in the corner. She, it's actually a really nice bit of camera work because you see her fall down and you hear a really loud like clunk sound of something hitting the steps. And then we cut to her on the outside holding her knee and just howling in pain. And so, of course, Graves has to naturally be like, I'm not sure. It looks like her hands or maybe her upper body caught the stairs, but that probably made it hurt more when she landed on her knee. And it's just like, come on, man. You're looking at a monitor.
Drawing attention to it. Just say the knee is hurt.
And also, it's kind of awkward that they try to sell the legitimacy of the injury by doing, I don't know if Dogs coined the phrase, but I remember him using it. They do the Owen voice.
He didn't coin it, but it's an internet thing that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, what it got dubbed because it's now the go-to for. Oh no, this is actually not part of the show.
We're very concerned about all that's going on.
We actually need. We're being very flat and very sincere to let you know that this is actually a more serious thing. This is not this is not planned. We actually need real help out here right now.
And it's really awkward, especially in a triple threat match, because there's still a match going on. So they'll do the medical officials coming down to check on Belair. Obviously, you never want to see it. Oh, Charlotte takes a knee to the face from Asuka, and the Queen is down.
I was like, I don't think my neck can take that much whiplash.
Yeah, so, but again, Bianca sold it like a champ both in the moment, and they start to help her to the back, but when Charlotte's about to get Asuka locked into a figure four, she, like, fights her way back to the ring.
She pulls a Foley.
And there's a great bit where she and Charlotte are trading forearms, and Bianca sells it that every time she gets hit with a forearm, her knee gives out, so she stumbles back, falls, hits the ropes, and has to push herself back to the feet using her upper body to throw another chop, and then she gets knocked down again. So it's just, like... Great continuity on the injury from her, which I loved. Again, all three women doing it well. There was one funny bit where Charlotte throws Asuka into the corner and then throws Belair into the corner, so they're sort of like stacked in there. And then she stops and just casually walks over to the referee. I forget her name. It's the lady ref. And just like casually turns her back and starts like pulling her hair. And I'm like, what is she? Oh, something's wrong with her top, and the referee needs to fix that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which again, totally fair. I get her, but it's just hilarious that she makes no effort to try to act like there's anything else going on except I've got a wardrobe issue. Help me out with that. And in the corner, Bianca and Asuka are just sitting there, and after a minute, you see Asuka like try to put Bianca in a sleeper hold or something just to justify why they're just sitting there waiting for Charlotte to get fixed up and resume her spot. But yeah, so great stuff all the way through. Ends up with Charlotte gets Bianca Belair in the figure 8, which she bridges into. But of course, when she is bridged with her, head being held off the ground, she is unable to do anything when Asuka just crawls through the ropes and misses her directly in the face. And so Charlotte goes down. Asuka gets up to go for a pin, but Bianca rolls her up into a quick small package. And 1, 2, 3, Bianca Belair is your new WWE Women's Champion.
That is it. Nothing else happened.
Nope. Great stuff. So I think this next reign for Bianca has a lot of potential. I think it's Survivor Series. Like I said,
Wait, what was that noise?
What's that? Some kind of alarm noise, some kind of music.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute. Wait, it's Bailey and Io. What's hilarious is as they charge to the ring, like Charlotte and Asuka both try to stop Io from getting into the ring, which match is over. What do you care anymore?
She just starts swinging with that briefcase.
Yeah. So Bailey clocks both of them, gets into the ring. Bianca manages to hit Bailey, but then Io grabs the case and hits Bianca right in the back of her injured leg.
Yep.
Bianca,
I love how they tried to add a little bit of suspense by making the officials stupid, because it's like almost every time they try and do this, it's just like cash in, like Io. I'm sure her English is strong, but she's the most direct with 2 words she can be. Cash in. They go cash in, cash in.
Are you extra super ultra sure you want to cash in?
Ring the bell.
It's just a long tradition going back to when Carmella cashed.
Oh my God. The guys don't seem to have this problem.
They really don't. Everybody's clear on that. But yeah, so Io cashes in. Bianca is still on the ground with the injury.
Io
does her no-look moonsault.
Well, she moves her to the ring corner, and the best part is when she puts her down and then goes to the corner, she steps on Bianca to get up the ropes.
Yeah, just lands her moonsault. 1, 2, 3, and Io Sky is your new WWE Women's Champion. Bianca Belair, after a long and reputable 1 minute 35-second title reign.
I mean, it was quick, but it ended better than the one that involved Becky when she returned.
Yeah, I mean that at least had like Bianca had a long match. She sold a severe injury.
Yeah,
and that's how you do that. If Becky had done something like that, I would not have been nearly as pissed off about it.
In a way, it makes sense, because how do you sell an injury that hard and keep going as champion? You can't sustain an injury angle, so might as well pay it off quickly.
Exactly. So, yep, Io Sky, your new champion. Bailey came to the ring with her, but Dakota Kai, who has been out with an injury for a while, makes her way through the crowd and comes up onto the ring and joins, and all 3 members of Damage Control just celebrate in the ring together. And Apparently, Dakota Kai was not booked to be there. That wasn't a plan. According to her, she was just at home. I think she lives in Florida. Saturday afternoon, got a text from Bailey just saying, "We need you here."
Oh, okay.
She got on a plane, says she landed during Drew McIntyre and Gunther's match, raced to the arena and got there in time to do that spot with the three of them, that's some commitment. But yeah, so I hope she gets better soon, because I still want this faction to work, even though they really have not gotten the chance they deserve. But with a women's title on one of them, you really think that they've got a good fresh start energy here.
Hopefully.
So yeah, I gave the triple threat match 3.5. The only thing that drags it down is I'm still I still feel like Asuka was done dirty, and that
a little.
Me.
It's real. It's happened previously too, where it's just like they give her this chance to go on a run, and then they just kind of end it abruptly in some form or another.
All right, and then Bianca and Io, which again, hard to score in the traditional way, but I give it 3, mainly just because it was a good cash in, and I'm really happy to see Io with the belt on. So let's see, and she looks really delighted to have this belt, and I think they give her a good run, because that was part of her. Was it was it Backlash? I think, where she had her match against not Rhea, who was her against Bianca back then, and she almost was playing it like a face, and it feels like they've realized that the crowd is there for Io for a while. One thing that somebody noted is that the Bianca now has been involved in both the longest and the shortest women's title matches to have been held at SummerSlam. That was both on this one card. So her 8-second match against Io and her 20-minute 35-second match against Charlotte and Asuka. She breaks all kinds of barriers. So let's see. Wow, it has been a good pay-per-view. So 3 hours and 5 minutes. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 8 matches. Yeah, counting the cash.
We're done, right? Yeah.
8 matches.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So I'm
that's it. Let's take it to the wrap up.
Wait, hold on. There's got a note here that the 3 hours and 5, but the pay-per-view was like 4 hours and 11 minutes. Well, that can't be right. There's one more match, but that match can't take up like an hour of television. That'd be crazy. I mean, I guess they could pad it out if like each of the entrances took like 10 minutes and you had like a 15-minute video package, but yeah, that's where we are. So your main event for the night, fourth of 4 main events for the night, the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, accompanied by Paul Heyman, versus Jey Uso in a tribal combat match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship and recognition as the Tribal Chief. You get a cool red necklace. Okay.
Yeah, so the game I've been playing is it came out pretty recently. It's called Double Dragon Gaiden Rise. Yeah, Double Dragon Gaiden. There's an extra subtitle to it, but it just came out. It's a new Double Dragon beat 'em up that I forget the company that put it out. It's a lot of fun, super fun. Everyone has their own kind of gimmick, and Marion is a playable character, and they've kind of shaken up the story a little bit. It's loads of fun, and actually there's a lot of variability in gameplay. And I know I'm putting this off. We have to finish talking about it, don't we?
I was waiting for a segue, but we don't have to come out of that cul-de-sac. It's nice to go in that direction. Yeah. All right, so the match, so it's a tribal combat, basically no DQ. There's tables, chairs, kendo sticks. Jey and Roman fight into the crowd. Solo shows up, attacks Jey. Jey gets dragged back to the ring. Roman tries to spear him, hits Solo. Jey eventually drags Roman to the ring, spears him, hits him with a splash, gets dragged out of the ring. It's Jimmy Uso. Oh no, he's surprised. Jey gets super kicked by Jimmy. Roman puts him back into the ring, spears him to the table in the corner. 1, 2, 3, pin. Cool. All right. Kara, we all good here? Or? No. So
it's the same bloodline party, but with different decorations.
It's the same thing. It's every Roman Reigns match, and okay, look,
only now they've taken it into a new, different, probably dumber direction, because Jimmy, who at first stood with his brother to turn on Roman.
Jimmy turned on Roman first to protect his brother.
Right. Then got beaten down and put in his place.
Put in a hospital by Roman and Solo, so naturally he shows up to attack Jay. And
Right.
all right. So I'll go and tell you how they're trying to spin this.
Cool.
So on SmackDown, Jay comes out and explains he wasn't trying to help Roman, but he's seen what the title has done to Roman, and he worries that if Jay wins a world title, it'll corrupt him like it's corrupted Roman, and he'll lose his brother. And he's looking at Jay, and he's like, this isn't you, Jay. So he had to, come to the ring in a black hoodie and a bandana over the lower half of his face, like you do when you're being an upstanding person. And, super kick his brother in the face, like you do when you're looking out for their own good. And, just throw him back into the ring so he could get speared through a table by a former star football tackle, like you do when you're looking out for your brother's best interests.
All right, so I know you're just summarizing what you saw, but I hated everything that you said from start to finish.
All right. Here's... I try to be kind of like restrained on this podcast. I try not to I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I like to see the best in things. I like to be like, well, the best argument for what they're doing is this. And, it's just been a fever pitch here at this point. I could go on about how the whole tribal combat gimmick is really stupid because they indicated that, this is some special extra thing. Like, Roman takes this seriously. He cheats his ass off in regular matches, but tribal combat, the elders know about this. No, it's just your bog standard, watered down, PG era.
No DQ, no holds barred.
Tables, chairs, couple of kendo sticks. Everybody can interfere.
Basically, it's an Extreme Rules match.
Yeah, and
I should say like latter day WWE Extreme Rules, where it's like you'll always see those things pop out.
Right, like nothing that could give the kids bad ideas about what to do or anything. I could go on about the fact that look, Roman is still an incredibly limited in-ring performer, and while they've surrounded him for so much of his run with people who can carry that, he does a few things well, but you can't sustain a 3-year title run on those few things that he does well. You can't sustain 30-plus minute matches. Is he better than he was during his 2014-2020 singles run? Yes. Is it time for us all to stop pretending that a dramatic toolkit consisting of a half-decent blue steel face, suddenly shouting at people, and a squinty cry face makes him the wrestling equivalent of Laurence fucking Olivier? Yes, it is time for us to stop pretending that this guy is the top-level performer just because everybody keeps deciding that he's going to win and his opponents are going to forget that he's going to cheat the same way every time. And like we've already said, this match didn't need a championship. All the commentary was talking about was the tribal chief. It's about the bloodline. It's about who gets to run the Anoa'i family. That's what this is all about. Okay, so why is Roman entering with these belts? Why don't these belts... why aren't they going to Cody Rhodes? Why didn't they go to Sami Zayn? Here's the thing. I understand. In wrestling, you never want to just hard end a story, because every wrestling story ever told has had one eye towards getting butts in seats and eyes on screen for next week's show. So you always want to give people something more. What they had with the Bloodline story was this very rare thing where they could conclude a chapter of it in a very decisive way by having either Sami or Cody beat Roman and then continue the Bloodline story internally while somebody else is now your top face champion. You've made your new John Cena. They had that and they decided no, because ... I really don't know what the idea is here. Do you?
I've been quiet, but I because I didn't want to interrupt that. That was wonderful. One of my favorite phrases is history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Because the sentiment you've echoed is something that I've seen written about older wrestling storylines. Specifically, I could point to the NWO from WCW.
That's what I have been thinking ever since I watched this.
That's what it is. The problem is, this gets lightning hot. It's or lightning in a bottle, I guess more accurately. It hits and it hits hard and it goes and it elevates someone who previously was kind of in a slump. And the problem is it hits its stride and it's going great, but all they're thinking about is how it's still going strong and it's going great, and they forget to look to the future and what to do when inevitably fans want something different.
Yeah, you stop asking the storytelling question of what should happen next, and you start asking the question of how can we keep this going.
And it's I think I mentioned it before. It's fear. It's a fear that, like, what if there isn't something we can pivot to? What if this is all we've got to go with?
Yeah.
It's funny enough. It's a weird combination of the NWO sticking around for way too long, and funny enough, it kind of mirrors the NWO black and white and black and red split.
Yeah, Wolfpack Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. And it also has a touch, because I've railed about it before, it has a combination of Ultimate Warrior gets the title, but he's sped through all of the roster, so they don't have anyone to stand up to him as a challenger.
Yeah,
and it's a fun combination of both of those problems hitting and around the same time. So what did they do? They walled off the Bloodline story to an internal affair.
Just create this little off the grid, totally isolated, but you forgot to take out the championships, and so you had to make up a whole new championship just so somebody else can be defending world titles.
Yeah, and the only reason Triple H was so excited about that is you get to bring back the big gold belt, which was his favorite.
I do believe that was how the meeting went with Vince, that he was like, look, Vince, we can't just keep having Roman win. Like, we got to put somebody else in. And Vince goes, I thought you might say that. How do you feel about this?
Either that, or it was just like, or Triple H was like, so that's why I'm proposing. And he puts it on the table, and Vince is like, why did you already have that ready to go? Have you been carrying that around again? You have your own.
Yeah, so I'm laughing, but this match made me viscerally angry.
Understandable.
It's the realization that, like,
I've used it before, but it's like the part in the Bill Cosby bit about making kids breakfast, where when he hits the line, and we were having a ball until. That's what this event felt like.
I thought it was like the Bill Cosby bit where it's like, I've been waiting an eternity for justice and I feel like it's never going to arrive.
That is also, but that's more of a meta bit.
Yeah, so it's, again, I summarized it in like 15 seconds.
That's great. Go back and listen to it again. That was amazing.
But like there's so much of this match is just Roman stomping around. It's like because that's his thing, he has to hit Jay like with like two forearms and a slam, and Jay is suddenly like struggling to get back to his feet so Roman can like grab his hand.
This man who I've seen in tag matches get up and springboard after being hit with like suplexes.
It's kind of the opposite of the normal problem you have in an OTQ match where somebody will take like 6 chair shots to the back and then get up and keep fighting, and you're sort of like, that's not how that normally works.
Because the point of those matches is this is supposed to be more brutal than usual, so they're going to be sustaining more punishment because it's all legal, as they'll constantly remind you.
Yeah, but here you've just got Jay selling everything from like minute one. It's I part of me wanted to like time it and be like, in the first 10 minutes, how many of those minutes are them actually like grappling or making any kind of contact with each other?
That means you've got to watch it slower.
Yeah, but
you've got to pay more attention.
Even things that I normally like I found myself getting mad at Paul Heyman because I'm just like, dude, you're just, because he's screaming at Jay like, you grew up together.
Oh yeah, that.
And I was like, I never.
Oh, my favorite part was not Paul Heyman screaming, but there were people at ringside who were this one pocket of people who were constantly yelling stuff that was being picked up clear as day by the mics.
That actually was pretty.
Those guys were doing great.
They were getting there. But yeah, and just because it's a long acknowledged thing. In WWE, commentary is telling you the story, and AEW commentary is telling you the match.
Right.
So like in AEW, you'll get commentary talking about the moves that just got done, or like the strategy that somebody's employing. So you'll have Excalibur being like, oh, he goes for a gut wrench powerbomb, but no, he counters into a poison rana.
It's kind of the difference between audio descriptive services and like a pop-up video where you just get little snippets that will enhance your viewing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, knowing that little factoid puts this into perspective.
Yeah, it's like AEW is like, here's stuff to enhance what you're doing and understand. WWE is, we're not sure you can see what's happening, so let's clarify it for you. And
they've leaned over in their seat and they're just aggressively whispering in your ear.
And honestly, there's a place for that. I don't mean to suggest that can't help, because WWE is a little more soapy, a little more storyline focused in that way.
Yeah, that's fine.
But with this match, there are only so many variants you can say on Jay really doesn't like Roman being the tribal chief, and Roman really wants to keep being the tribal chief. And there are so many dead spots in the match where Jay's just crawling on the ground or Roman's just stomping around and shouting, and they just keep having to say that over and over again. And even by Michael Cole standards, we hit new levels of just inane commentary. Tribal combat. There are no rules, but there must be a definitive winner. Thank you, Cole. Very, very clear.
So this match is unsanctioned? Because that's what an unsanctioned match sounds like.
I would think, but
like the ref is simply there to count a pin.
the moment that made me almost want to throw something was at one point, like Roman does his usual, like grab Jay by the hair, yell at him, and throw him down. And as he stomps back to the corner, Cole goes, almost as if Roman is reminding Jay, your arms aren't long enough to box with God.
I thought that was Graves.
Was that Graves?
I feel like that was Graves. I remember it distinctly. I feel like that was Graves.
Okay,
yeah.
that might have been.
It doesn't matter. It sucks.
No, it matters because Graves is a different kind of suck than Cole is sometimes.
What was definitely Graves was after Solo shows up, Graves observes, if you didn't see this coming, you haven't been paying attention.
Oh my God, I told you, it was like, you can't just hang a lampshade on something and then just be like, well, we're doing it.
The same thing is happening that has happened in the last 19 matches. Observation.
So mark your bingo card, everyone.
And that's the thing about Roman. Somebody on Twitter, I don't know this guy, who just like commented on the same post I was looking at, but he made the observation, Roman both can be beaten by anyone he wrestles, and he can't be beaten by anyone he wrestles. He is a weak champion who can't ever win in a fair fight, but commentary always presents him as a champion who no one can beat in a fair fight. Like there's this weird thing. Like
He's Schrodinger's heel.
Pretty much. Like MJF, when he cheats to win, he's done it through like usually most of his cheating is pretty clever. Like he found a smart place to hide the diamond ring.
Clever and desperate.
Right.
You know when he's resorting to it, he's admitted that he can't do it. Like if he didn't have this ace in the hole, he'd be done.
Yeah, Roman retained at WrestleMania because his cousin ran in and punched the other guy in the throat.
Right.
That's it. That's his big strategy for winning. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. This match, it is the realization that we are now officially in the territory of the bloodline. It is an Energizer Bunny of a story. It will keep going and going and going and going. There is no end point. There is no progress.
It's like the subsection of it's like the section of people who hit jet lag with how long the Simpsons have gone on.
Yeah, there's. And I think you sent me like someone suggested on social media of Roman possibly beating San Martino's reign.
There were people. Okay, it was brought up that people were openly thinking. I don't think it's anything seriously. Right. Okay, I think it started with Kurt Angle on his podcast, who was expressing his dismay at how the bloodline thing is dragged on.
Yeah.
And he said, why not just, I think he just flippantly went, why not just go ahead and have him break San Martino's record then?
WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle believes that WWE...
That's how it kind of went.
Yeah.
And people went and took a cynical aside and started debating it like a real thing. And here's the bottom line to that. No, Roman does not need a 7-year reign.
No.
You are absolutely bonkers if you think it's a good idea and won't kill like a significant portion of your audience.
You want proof of how completely isolated his world championship now is from the rest of the company? Does anybody think for even a second that Priest is going to cash in on Roman?
No.
Like there is no.
Like,
nobody is considering that. They're not even hinting at it. Nobody's fainting at it.
You don't even hear like talk of anyone open challenge, like wanting to try and challenge Roman.
Yeah, it's just like the only way you get near Roman is if you've either won the Royal Rumble or you've gotten involved in his bloodline craziness.
Right.
Yeah, and there's I think the fact that you had Sami Zayn come in and you had this guy who was such an underutilized talent on the roster who
people raved about how he reinvigorated the whole storyline.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that is usually the narrative, because if I saw people saying that Roman had elevated Sami, I think I would have
Lord knows, I'm sure I think some people tried, but it was just immediately shot down by most sane people.
I'm looking around me on the table, and everything is either made of glass or expensive electronic equipment, so there's nothing I can physically smash to express my frustration over that. But yeah, so Sammy gave this whole thing a jolt, and people forget that like a year ago, the Bloodline story was kind of out of gas. Like Roman was just, people would challenge Roman, and Roman would beat them, and that would be it. And suddenly Sammy comes in, and the story of him getting involved and how like the drama with Jay and Jimmy, and suddenly it felt like, oh, this is building to something. It's going somewhere. And is it going to Sammy winning? Well, no, he's not winning. But he's winning the tag titles. Cody, now there's a story that's going to... And no, it's just... There is no end. There is nothing. There is only the endless, gaping, black maw into which you will shove money until it just goes down Vince McMahon's eternally insatiable gullet. Get well soon, Vince. I hope your back surgery went well.
I don't.
Yeah, they say he wasn't heavily involved in this card because he's recovering from the surgery, but personally, I'll believe Vince McMahon is out of Gorilla when he has been like dissolved in molten liquid or crushed in a hydraulic press or whatever other
video
technique.
Footage of his casket being inserted into the crematorium.
Whatever techniques you use to destroy a Terminator, that's what I'll believe has finally gotten.
And
Vince
if they want to
McMahon
live
out of
stream
there.
it, I'll put it up. I'll watch it on Peacock. Sure.
Yeah. So that's where we are again.
Put him in a limo and explode it again.
And this time, no dead murdering Canadians will get you out of that scrape.
I mean, it's shorter to just say Benoit, but okay.
Yeah. So, really not a bad pay-per-view overall.
All right, we need to pull it back. We need to pull it back in just a little bit. All right.
Yeah. So, but it's like we said at the
Compliment
beginning.
sandwich.
WWE has a really strong roster, some pretty good stories going. Most of their belts are on good champions.
A lot of people get to experience this for the first time who weren't around for WCW.
Yeah. It's so amazing to me that people keep trying to parallel AEW with WCW when it's like, I feel like there is one card that has a problem with like a stagnant main event scene and
it's not AEW.
Like, overplay.
AEW is willing to try. You know,
I don't want to make. I think both WWE and AEW do things well. I think they're fundamentally trying to present different styles of pro wrestling, and from the bottom of my heart, I want both of them to succeed at it. I would love to have two companies putting on different kind of product and have it both be great. And honestly, WWE has gotten a lot closer to the best version of itself over the last few years than it did when I started watching again back in 2017, I think, where I was just... It was basically, we were riffing on these pay-per-views. We'd come together and we'd laugh at like... Just, you know, like the Hell in a Cell with Roman and Braun Strowman or whatever. Just the aimlessness of so many of these stories. And it's coming back in. But the Bloodline, which I have to acknowledge, like the company's selling a lot of merch. People are like, they go nuts when Roman enters. They go nuts when Jay enters.
well, you know who's selling the most merch? It's LA Knight.
As it should be.
So if that should translate into anything, it should be LA Knight rocketing up the card.
I would think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so all that to say, one thing that I look at AEW and I'm like, I can't think of a story that they overplayed. They've tried stories that didn't work.
I think the only thing that that where AEW and I don't sync up is I'm not as in tune to Japanese wrestling as they'd like me to be.
Fair.
But other than that, I always still have a pretty enjoyable time watching.
Yeah. And, you know, AEW has 4 pay-per-views a year, and you'll watch, and you'll be like, oh, wow, a lot of stuff has changed over. And with WWE,
Very true.
I see the Bloodline, and I'm just like, man, this is a status quo that is just getting etched into stone more and more.
Oh, yeah, I
with every
really don't
passing
need a
day.
lot of catching up when when a WWE pay-per-view, premium live event happens.
No.
Because...
I went on Twitter and talked about a pay-per-view, and that's how I see the world.
You paid all right. But yeah, it's like you're right. I don't need as much catching up when it comes to a WWE event because it's still pretty much carrying over from what it had been.
But look, overall, I liked most of this card.
Sure.
I mean, the first 3 hours, 1 or 2 matches, a little under par, but I was having a pretty good time. Main event was really a piss balloon in my bourbon barrel, though, to use the phrase I said to Gina.
This show was a wonderful birthday cake that unfortunately the cat barfed on.
So overall, looking at this I should specify. The main event, I give 1. The only reason I'm giving 1...
Not even a star, just a 1.
A 1. It doesn't even deserve a rating. I'm trying to save out a 0 because some people clearly, the crowd was popping for it. They were there for most of it.
Here's the thing. I think it'll be exceptionally rare. I think the moment you give something a 0, you'll know what it is.
Yeah, a 0 will be this functionally does not work.
This might have killed the business.
I mean, not like Shane McMahon versus The Miz. If I'd been scoring that one, might have just been a man tore his legs off, and then Snoop Dogg had to.
What is the
save
genetic
the day.
problem with that family and their quads?
There was an ancient curse.
Snoop Dogg was the ring general that saved the day.
With his dying breath, Jim Crockett uttered a curse that will lay on them forever. All right, so overall, I will give WWE SummerSlam 2023 2.5 out of 5 freshly snapped Slim Jims. Oh yeah,
Dig it.
But yeah, so
You might not like it, but accept it.
all right, so coming up, we've got 2 events for AEW in the next few weeks.
AEW went a little bonkers,
Yes, they did. They have their
but apparently it paid off.
record-setting, one of the highest-selling pro wrestling events outside of North Korea, which is a weird.
Well,
add-on
that's
that
because
people
attendance
need
was mandatory to that one.
And when they say mandatory, AEW All In at Wembley will be on Sunday, the 27th, and then 1 week later on
Wembley is just such a British
September
word,
3rd.
isn't it?
Yes, Wembley. It's
Wembley. It's a little Wembley outside today.
I'm assuming it's a football stadium, but it seems like such a natural cricket place. I don't know.
I have a smartphone right there. I don't care to pick up and look it up.
And then, 1 week later on September 3rd, yes, they will have All Out. And Chris, we talked about this before, but you and I will actually not be covering All In recognizing the return of Shelby Death Ray Patterson.
What? When was this?
Oh, that's right. You weren't in the room when we had the conversation.
Now, hold on a minute. What are you cheering about?
Hey, listen, I'm an equal opportunity board runner.
Yeah,
All right. I guess I can't dispute that.
She's like the ring announcer. She sees all but can't say. But yeah, Gina, bless your heart, Belmont Brafford, and Shelby Death Ray Patterson will be taking All In. And then, Chris, you and I will be returning for All Out the following week. Let's see.
I suppose I'll allow it.
Something I just want to mention for anybody who's in the Rock Hill, Charlotte area that we hang around in, Free Reign Theater Company, which producer Kara and myself have worked with in the past, is putting on a Soldiers play at the Geddes Center in downtown Rock Hill. We open on August the 24th and run 2 weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon shows. It's a Tony Award-winning play based on a Pulitzer Prize-winning script that was adapted into an Academy Award-winning movie. So,
So you have to like it,
reasonably prestigious, but no, it's a
or else you're a Philistine.
it is a fantastic cast. We are sparing no expense on the production to tell the story of an investigation into a murder on an army base in the 1940s. It's a very intense, very riveting drama, and if you're in the area, come check it out. You can find the link on Facebook or on freereigntheater.com. All right, Chris, I know you kind of are withdrawing a little bit from social media, but would you like to tell the people where they can find you?
Absolutely not.
Understandable. Well, I am still clinging to the shuddering husk of a not yet fully deceased carcass known as X.
Nope, Twitter. It's still going to be Twitter. I
still
refuse
Twitter.
to call it X.
Not even-
I am on there too. Don't come looking for me. You don't want to do that to yourself.
I am at Redbeard Rob if you want to see just a weird smattering of political opinions and pro wrestling and then occasional Simpsons memes.
It mostly consists of you saying something rational and then the most unhinged person finding you.
It's a magnet. Like, I don't get many comments, but when I do, it's either you saying something that makes me laugh or somebody telling me I should, kill myself via autoerotic asphyxiation.
The old NXS method.
All right, well, I tried to come up...
I'm sorry, Kara. Should I have called it the carotene?
I mean, I would have preferred that because I remember where I was when I heard that Michael Hutchins died. So, yeah.
Eesh.
But that's okay.
I bet he
It's probably
remembers
not
too.
too soon.
I remember where I was when I heard that Michael Hutchins died. I was sitting right here in this chair because I don't know who that was, and this is the first I've ever heard of it.
That's nothing.
Damn it, I'm old.
All right, well, I think that is going to do it for all of us here at This Is a Work.
It better. That was a terrible way to go out.
Send people home with a song in their heart. And
that
a
was
thought.
that was my fault. I'm sorry.
All right. As we're heading out, this has been Chris Barnes. I'm Redbeard, occasional Rampage Robert Brafford. And just as a throwback to David Two Dogs Hayes, I'm just going to say, folks, Roman Reigns may be ruining professional wrestling, but you got out of bed this morning, had a job to go to, somebody that loved you. Folks, this match is over, and Roman Reigns pinned you and is still the undisputed Universal Champion. This Is a Work.
You're right. He needs at least 3 more titles.
3 more years.